The media tells us that you need to find the one and then live happily ever after. That is what relationships are supposed to be. There's one, and if you just find the one, then everything's going to be fine. And if you don't feel love anymore, then what you do is you just go and find that love somewhere else. If you're not finding love in that relationship, just go get a different relationship. And out of that, you will get your love. So that's kind of the society media portrayal. And then you've got traditional church. And traditional church says, if you don't feel love in your marriage, then tough. You're just stuck in it. You got no choice. You just have to stay stuck in a horrible relationship that has no love. Is that really the choice that we have? Either just walk out or just it's just tough and you're just stuck. I would like to think, and God would tell us, that these are not the two choices that we have. Because what God wants is for us to be in loving, fulfilling relationships. That is God's desire. 1 Peter 4:8 says, and this is not in the context of marriage, but it's very true in the context of marriage. Most important of all, continue to show deep love for each other, for love covers a multitude of sins. Now that's important for our relationship with each other as Christians. That's the context. You know, sometimes people fall out in church, and God would say, look, within church context, don't fall out with people. If you have a disagreement, you're allowed to disagree. We don't have to agree about everything, but when you disagree, continue to show deep love for each other. The people you have the greatest disagreement with are the ones it is most important to show love towards in order to keep that relationship in unity. Because when love is strong, small things don't matter. In a marriage relationship, when love is strong, the small stuff doesn't matter. In a friendship, in our relationship as Christians, when love is strong, the small things don't matter. But when love is weak, the small things turn into big things. The little problems that you would normally ignore turn into something that you can't ignore because the love has gone. So I said that we would come back to this as a topic and consider, how do we keep that love strong? How do we stop the love from growing cold? And the answer I'm talking about today is, we do it by speaking the right language. We need to speak the right language. We need to communicate in a way that the other person understands. So we need to show our love in a way that makes the other person feel that love. Because if there's a mismatch, that's when the problems start to happen. Now this is true of our relationship with God as well. In 1 Samuel 15:22 it says this, "What is more pleasing to the Lord, your burnt offerings and sacrifices, or your obedience to his voice?" Listen, obedience is better than sacrifice, and submission is better than offering the fat of rams. So what you had in the context of this verse is people saying, we have grown up being told by the priests the sacrifice is important. And by sacrifice they meant taking an animal and having it killed and spraying the blood around the temple. Okay? That's what is important. What does God want? The thing that God really wants is us to bring animal sacrifice. If we want to show our love to God, we bring animal sacrifice. So that's what we've grown up with. So that's what we do. And God is saying, do you really think it is the sacrificing of the animals that's important? That is not the way that you demonstrate the good of our relationship. What you do is you listen and you obey my voice and submit to what it is I'm telling you to do. Submit to the way that I'm asking you to go. You see, there was a mismatch. People are saying, well, this is what I'm bringing to show you, God, that I love you. And God's saying, yeah, but that's not what I want. And the people go, yeah, but that's what I'm bringing. I'm bringing this. I've heard that this is what works sometimes, so I'm bringing it. And God's saying, yeah, it's not where it's at. It's not what's important. They weren't speaking the language that God wanted them to speak in. They wanted to speak in the language of animal sacrifice. And God says, no, you need to speak in the language of submission and obedience. And that's what their problem was. They weren't speaking the right language. What I'm about to tell you is largely from a book called The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. Quite an old book now. I'm going to give you a little summary of what it says. Feel free to go and buy the book for yourself. But this book basically describes 5 love languages that people have that they understand love through. And the first one is gift giving. Gift giving. So, for example, the picture shows flowers and chocolates. That's a traditional kind of British thing, isn't it? You know, you want to demonstrate that you love somebody, you might buy them flowers, you might buy them chocolates. If you're thinking of me, I prefer the chocolates to the flowers. That's probably common knowledge, but I just thought I'd mention it. That's what it's about. But the question you need to ask yourself is this. Firstly, how important is receiving a gift to you? How important is that? You see, you might be thinking to yourself, when was the last time I got a gift? How did I feel the last time I got a gift? And I can understand why you'd think that, not least because I've just asked you to. And here's the issue. That's the wrong thing to be asking yourself, even though I just told you to. The real question is, how important is receiving a gift to your partner? Because we're about expressing our love to someone else. And the danger with anything like this is we start to think, how are other people expressing their love to me? But if we're all thinking about ourselves, then that doesn't help communication. That doesn't help love grow. What God says is you need to be thinking about the other person in the relationship. Now, they, of course, should be thinking about you. If we're thinking about each other, the love grows. If we're thinking about ourselves, the love shrinks. So let's consider a specific examples of how important it is for receiving a gift or your partner receiving a gift. Let's consider a case study using this wonderful couple, me and my wife. How important is receiving a gift to me? Do you know what? If I don't receive a gift, I don't feel that I'm not loved. The practicality is, when we were kids and our parents and my mum sat there and they gave us gifts, that was great, that was wonderful. We felt loved because they gave us gifts. But when they started giving us the option of money instead of gifts, we said, just give us the money. So relatively quickly in my upbringing, it became the more money we can get, then we can save up and buy something we really want, rather than giving me little gifts. Now, as a result of that, the receiving of a gift, I like it, don't get me wrong, I appreciate it every time I'm given a gift. But if you've never given me a gift, I don't feel like, well, that person doesn't love me because they've never given me a gift. Because gift giving is not big on my radar, unfortunately for Hillary, because it's just like not one of those things. To Hillary, gift giving's more on her radar. Now, when we're out sometimes looking around a shop, how often do you think Hillary says, oh, look at that. That would be a lovely gift for such and such. That would be a lovely gift for that person. Oh, I know who would like that. All right? And have a guess how often I say, as we're walking around a shop, oh, I know we could get that for somebody. We could get that for something. Now, do you think we're the same? All right. It just so happens that I have to really, really actively think, right, I need to start thinking about buying gifts. Hillary is kind of like on her radar. And she thinks about buying gifts. I don't really care much about receiving gifts. We have one joint bank account. So any money that gets spent is all our money anyway. So if I buy Hillary a gift, then in effect, you know, she's paid for it, half of it, because it's coming out of one account. She buys me a gift, in effect, I pay about half of it, because that's the way we want to do our money. We don't have separate money. We don't have any separate accounts. We just have our money completely together. And Hillary knows that when I have like my 60th birthday a few weeks ago, Hillary knows that if she just bought a big present for me, I would think, oh, yeah, we should have discussed this first. We should have discussed what, if it's going to spend a lot of money. I wouldn't have said, oh, that's amazing, you've been giving me a really thoughtful gift. I'd have been, was that a wise decision? Because he's not big on my decision. So do you know what she did? She bought me a book for $5.99. It was brilliant. It was $7.99. Sorry, it was. A book for $7.99, and it was brilliant. Okay, I love that book. Okay, it's specifically about something that I really like. It's a puzzle book, logic puzzles. All right, so I was bold. I felt really loved because she thought to herself, he wouldn't want me to spend a lot of money, but he'd love a little present that just really feeds into something that he would want. So I loved that $7.99 book that I got for my 60th birthday. And out of interest, if you think, well, that's not spending very much money, yes, I also bought a new computer this year, and we are spending more on our holiday in a couple of weeks' time. So more money is being spent in celebration, but in terms of just receiving a gift, that was fantastic for me, and it cost $7.99. Gift giving is not big for me. Gift giving is pretty big for God. John 3:16, God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son. The issue is, how big is gift giving for your partner? Because if it's a big deal for them, they cannot feel loved if you do not give them a gift. You could do a whole load of other things, but if part of their love language is the receiving of gifts, then if they never receive a gift from you, they are not feeling loved. For some people it will be important, for some people it will not be important. It will be very helpful to your relationships if you know what the love language is of your partner. The gifts don't have to be expensive, as I've discussed. They don't even have to cost any money. You could make something and give it. You could write something and give it. You could see something and think, my partner would appreciate that. I'm going to take a photograph of that and send them this photograph and just say, I was thinking of you. As I saw this photograph, it made me think of you. Or this beautiful sunset, you're not here, I wish you were here. Or let's take this together and print out the photograph. Gift giving does not have to be expensive. The person needs to know that you're thinking of them and you're expressing it with a gift. So that's one way. This brings us to the second type of love language, which could be typified by this sentence. They give me gifts, but they never lift a finger to help. So this brings us to number 2 in the love languages, which is your acts of service, things that you do. See, giving a gift could be very easy, but some people, they don't very much care about the gifts. But if you do something to help, then that is a big deal. For me, acts of service is a massive part of my love language. If you give me a box of chocolates, I will say, thank you, that was really nice. If you come and take a job off me and say, I'll do that instead of you, I'll be like, wow, thank you so much. That is such an expression of love that you've taken some work from me. Acts of service is a massive deal for me. It's interesting that means that because it is a massive deal for me, it is a way that I try and show love. See, I instinctively show love the way I want to receive love, which means that I do try and look for opportunities to help people in a practical way. In expressing my love for Hillary, I try and find practical things that need to be done, and I do things to help. Now, if your partner, acts of service is a big part of their love language, they need you to be doing things for them. The important thing is about your partner. This is where I potentially fall down. I instinctively do this because it's how I want to be loved. If you instinctively do this because that's how you want to be loved, well, fair enough. But the important thing is, how does your partner want to be loved? So acts of service could be things like making a cup of tea, doing the washing up, going out to work and earning some money, looking after the children, fixing things, all kinds of stuff. Now, is that normal life or is that love language? Some people would look at that and say, well, Ian, that's not about love. That's just what you've got to do. That's just like, people need drinks. The washing up needs to get done. If nobody works, where are we going to get our money from? The kids need looking after. It's broken, it needs to be fixed. This is not about love. This is just what needs doing. And if that's your attitude, then it's not part of your love language, and that's okay. Nobody's telling you need to have a certain love language. But for some people, when somebody does something for them, it is an act of love. For some people, when they do it, they're trying to do it as an act of love. The question is that how your partner receives it? And we're not asking your partner to change and receive the love that you want to give it. We're asking ourselves to change so that we give love in the way that our partner needs to feel loved. Acts of service is very biblical. 1 John 3:16. We looked at John 3:16, now we're looking at 1 John 3:16. This is how we know what love is. Jesus Christ laid down his life for us. Acts of service are important. Which brings us to number 3, which could be typified by this sentence. They give me gifts and do practical things, but we never do anything together. This harks back to last week's living separate lives. We never do anything together. Quality time, okay? You'll notice I've put quality in bold, all right? Spending quality time together. Not just spending time together, spending quality time together. So watching TV in silence is not quality time. Do you ever do anything together? Yes. At the end of the day, we're both tired, so we slump on a settee and we put the telly on and we go, and we watch telly together. Okay, that is time together. It's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. But if someone's love language is quality time, then you are not feeding that love language simply by sitting next to them on a settee watching something. Working together is not quality time. Okay, if you do jobs together, and you're saying, well, there we are, I helped with the washing up or whatever, we were together, that's not quality time. It might be an act of service, all right? So I'm not saying you don't do it. It might be a really, really great way to show love. But don't kid yourself that it was quality time. It wasn't necessarily quality time. So remember, what quality time is depends on what your partner thinks quality time is. And of course, they should be thinking what you think quality time is. There is a give and take. But for you, the important thing is, what do they think? I'm going to let you in on a little joke, a little in-joke. We were driving along one day, we started talking about old things, and who here has ever heard of a cheese and wine party? Okay, you've heard of cheese and wine parties. They're not a big thing now. We were laughing about the fact that nobody ever does cheese and wine parties anymore. The idea of a cheese and wine party is you invite a load of people around and you have lots of different types of cheese and different types of wine, and you taste the cheese and you taste the wine, and that's it. And we were just commenting on that, and I just said, that really is my nightmare. Right, if you know anything about me, like I'll eat like cheddar cheese, but I don't want anything like which got, if it's got blue bits in it, as far as I'm concerned, it's gone off. All right, if it smells a bit like this, if it's squidgy cheese, it's supposed to be squidgy. So I'm not a big fan of cheese. I have never liked wine, ever, okay? I used to drink a fair amount as a teenager, and when I first went to university, I used to drink a lot of alcohol, but never wine. I've just never liked the taste of wine. So we're going along, and we've been talking about this, I'm driving along, and I go, yeah, that would be some kind of hell for me, a cheese and wine party, because I don't like cheese, I don't like wine, And then we both paused and said together, and I don't like parties. Because I'm a bit of an introvert. I know you don't think it, but I'm actually a bit of an introvert. Okay, so when I get tired, I do not want to be with people. When I get tired, I want to be on my own. When I've got to the end of a tired day, I don't say, oh, let's go out and do something. I go, I just want to sit now home and just go on a computer by myself and play a game or whatever. Okay, that's me. So it's a standard joke. Don't like cheese, don't like wine, don't like parties. Quality time depends on what your partner thinks. Hillary knows inviting me out to a cheese and wine party would be my idea of, well, hell's me and exaggeration, but I wouldn't like it. So, what might be quality time? Quality time might be talking about things that matter. It might be going for a walk. It might be going out for a meal. If you don't have enough money to go out for a meal, it might be going to the park and having a picnic. It might be you spend time with friends together. There are lots of different types of quality time. You do what works for your partner. Which brings us to number 4, and a conversation that has been had in many a relationship counseling session, where one person says, I don't need to say that I love them because they already know. If I'm honest, it's usually the man who says it. Do you say you love your wife? Do you ever tell you love her? Well, I don't need to. She already knows. And the counselor says, well, how do they know? And the man says, well, I give them gifts. I bring them flowers and chocolates. I work hard for them. I go out. I work extra hours to bring in extra money for our family. We go out for meals together with that money that I've earned. We go out. We have some lovely meals together. So it's obvious that I love them. Now, what's happening there? Well, what's happening there is the one partner, the man, his love language is about gifts and acts of service and quality time together. So because those are the things that he values, those are the things that he is giving. But maybe his partner needs something else. And number 4 in the list is words of affirmation. Words of affirmation. Not just talking, but positive talking, okay? What do you like about somebody? What do you respect about somebody? What do they look, you say you look nice. You don't say, oh, you look nice today, much better than usual. All right, that's not a word of affirmation. That's a put down, all right? You see what I mean? But words of affirmation, positive words. And if positive words are part of your love language, you cannot feel loved unless you receive words of affirmation. It doesn't matter if the partner is giving you all these other forms of love. If they never say anything nice to you or nice about you or praise you for something, then you will not feel loved. How often do you give your partner words of affirmation? Does it matter? Well, if it's their love language, it really matters. If it's not their love language, it doesn't matter a great deal. Negative words hurt these people even more. Because if your love language is the positive words, the words of affirmation, then if you say negative words over somebody, it cuts even more deeply. Because not only are they not receiving the love, they're actually being put down in a way that really matters to them. Our words are important. Ephesians 4:29, again, not in the context of marriage. This is true for every relationship. Don't use foul or abusive language. Let everything you say be good and helpful, so that your words will be an encouragement to those who hear them. Let everything you say be good, helpful, and encouragement to those who hear them. Words of affirmation. Which brings us to the last of the 5, which is physical touch. Now, physical touch can be, there's a few ways that this can go. Here's a couple of examples on the screen. So there's the positive physical touch. So like, a hug or a holding hands or something like that. There's the negative, okay? You are communicating through touch. Positively or negatively, you communicate through touch. You communicate through lack of touch. If somebody goes to shake hands and you're like, you have communicated something very powerful by refusing to touch. So, physical touch is an important part of body language, but it's also an important part of love language. Our childhood can affect our need for physical touch. So, if when somebody's growing up, their parents are very affectionate with hugs and stroking hair and things like that, it becomes a part of the love language. And it means that as an adult, you will really feel loved when you have that kind of physical touch. If growing up you don't receive that, it can go two ways. If you didn't receive it as a child, you may grow up and you don't care about it, because you never had it before, so you don't care about it. Or it goes the other way. Because you never have it as a child, you crave it as an adult. You crave the hug. You love the affection that you feel through physical touch. Be aware that your love language can be affected by a lot of things of the past. Now, I need to be honest as well. There is a sexual side within marriage, which is about physical touch as well, but for obvious reasons, that is beyond the scope of this sermon. But it is worth mentioning that it is part of the love language. Song of Solomon 2:6, his left arm is under my head, and his right arm embraces me. The Bible recognizes the expression of love through physical touch. So how do we respond to what you've just heard? Remember what I said last week, which is this is more about recognizing what problems can come and trying to stop them from coming. Because if you've already reached a point where your marriage is in trouble, little fixes like this do not work. Okay, you probably need more help than that. But if you are entering a relationship, if your relationship could just do with a bit of improvement, then consider these areas: gift giving, acts of service, quality time, positive words, physical touch. It's easy for you to look at that and think, well, what's important to me? But what's more important is to ask, what's important to your partner? They are all important. Every one of them is important. I would suggest that there isn't one of those five that a relationship could do without completely. But some are more important than others. And we're also talking about other relationships. So a child will feel love through gift giving, acts of service, quality time, positive words, physical touch. A parent can feel love through gift giving, acts of service, quality time, positive words, physical touch. So these are not just purely relevant to people who are in marriage or thinking about marriage. Which are important to the other people in your life? And what will you do? Because if you love them, that's great. But they need to know that you love them. And doing all five of these things will help them know that you love them. But maybe one or two of these are more important than the others. How do you know which are the important ones? Well, of course, you can just ask people. You might know them well enough. You might want to go and buy the book, although I've told you virtually everything that's in it. So there's not a great deal of extra, even though it goes into more detail. But interestingly enough, they have a website. And at the back of the book, there's a quiz. But you don't need to buy the book to get the quiz. Because if you search for the 5 love languages quiz, you will get to this website. And you can click on it. And it will go through a series of 30 questions. And largely what it does is it gives you a choice of 2 things. Which is more important, this or this? You know, if you had a choice of receiving love this way or this way, which one would you choose? And then at the end of it, it pops out and it says, of the 5, here are your rankings. This is what you scored high, this is what you scored low on. So you don't need to guess. You can say to your partner, why don't we do this quiz? Yeah? You don't exactly do it together, although it's not a bad idea to discuss it, but you can do it separately and then discuss the results. This is a very practical way to respond, to make certain that within your relationship, the love grows. Because as we said, if the love is strong, the little things don't matter. If the love grows weak, the small things become the big things.